And that brings us to kind of the takeaways, start at the beginning of the takeaways. So the first one is, and a good news for the email team, that the content they were writing actually did matter. We found this pretty cut and dry, that no matter what we did, the different versions we would test and the subject lines actually made a difference. So I'm going to walk through a quick example here. This was one day in August, I think right after the Republican convention, the day of or the day before.
I think it was before the DNC started.
And it was the day of the August deadline.
Yeah.
So there was August 31st. And we tested an email from the president with 6 different drafts. So this first one, I don't know if you can read it, but it's basically kind of a pivoting from the convention, a little bit about the deadline, kind of a general state of the race type of draft. The second one was about our opponent and leaned right into Mitt Romney. Version 3 was a lot longer. Amelia, when she was setting this up, was saying, this is one I wouldn't have read. This is too long.
It's too long.
This is one about Mitt Romney, a lot more, expands a lot more on how we were going to be outspent by the other side. The fourth one was more of a personal note from the president. This is my last campaign, and it means a lot to me that you're involved. V5 was our really leaned into the deadline. It was short and sweet, but it was about our midnight deadline. And the 6th version was really about bringing people together and how, as a grassroots effort, we were going to overcome the challenges that we faced. So on each of these versions, there were 6 of them. And if you have in your head like what you think was the winner, we're going to reveal the results in a second, so Insta-poll. But in each of these 6 versions, we tested 3 subject lines each. And we would have each version would share one subject line. In this case, it was the subject line, hey, which we'll tell you a little more about in a second. But this was a situation where we tested hey, and then each of the drafts would have 2 extra subject lines we were testing, because we saw sometimes a huge lift from subject lines. And here's the results. V4, that personal note from the president, was far and away the winner. And this was one of the rare occasions where something else beat hey. In fact, this one was your name. So I would get Toby, subject line, from Barack Obama. It was actually pretty compelling to get an email from the president with your first name in it. Even worked on me. So I guess it's for a brief second I forgot that we had sent that to myself. But here you can see in these bars, you can see like the difference between sending the best email again and sending the worst is pretty dramatic. It's more than $2 million of revenue.
Or even the best and the average. I mean,
but even the best and the average is really, really dramatic. It was $1.5 million difference between if we had just picked one at random and gotten lucky and hit the middle of the road, we would have left $1.5 million on the table. So these are things that really, really paid off. And so to explain this slide a little bit, one of the things that gave us some comic relief on the campaign was a supporter, I assume a supporter out there, started a Tumblr where to pair Ryan Gosling photos with our subject lines. And it was the best thing ever. It's hilarious. I think it's still up. I think it's called Hey Girl.
Barack Obama. I don't can't remember.
We'll get back to you on that.
If you Google it, you'll find it.
Yeah, here are some of the best ones we had on the campaign. Hey was by far and away our go-to, our bread and butter. That one's still good. That photo still makes me giggle. Say you're with me was a big one, that imperative from the president. Listen, colon. A lot of things with colon ended up being, or punctuation in the subject line ended up being helpful for us. And then, hell yeah, I like Obamacare. We sent that on the day of the Supreme Court decision upholding Obamacare. And it was, I think one of I guess one of the currents underneath here is that all of these things are kind of like personal. They all feel like they could be from a real person. Something you might send to your friend. I know I send hey subject lines to my friends all the time, or like to my coworkers all the time, just to ask them for a quick question or something like that. And the hell yeah, I like Obamacare is a great example of where light swearing actually provided a nice lift We couldn't overuse that.
We never went really blue. I kind of wanted to over there at the end, just from a purely scientific standpoint. Like, let's drop some real four-letter words in there. But apparently that was unpresidential or something.
But Jim Messina, our campaign manager, was all for it. Yeah, he wanted to be the first campaign manager in presidential history to use the F word in an email. Didn't happen. But we did see success with things like,
I think, as you were saying, I think it makes a difference. Some of this is more anecdotal than scientific, dropping in some light swearing or having having subject lines that are shorter and less formal. But I do think that made a difference, because it wasn't just that dropping a hell yeah into the subject line was eye-catching, which it was, but I think it gave the impression that there were real people writing these emails, that it was actually like, it wasn't focus group to death, like this was something that was a little more off the cuff. And that was definitely interesting.